Welcome, everyone. Donald Davidoff, co-founder and CEO of Real Estate Business Analytics, here for another episode of The People Behind the Performance, where I sit down with key leaders and disruptors to dive into what's driving the real estate industry's success, the role data plays in it all, and tell the stories of the people behind it. I'm here today with my good friend, former colleague, and current client, Melanie Flaherty, who is Senior Vice President of Marketing for Carmel Partners. At Carmel, Melanie oversees branding, creative strategy, digital marketing with a focus on Carmel's multifamily portfolio. Previously, as Vice President Marketing at Archstone, Melanie led brand strategy and online marketing for 180 plus luxury apartment communities in major metropolitan areas, including a pipeline of over 50 new development projects. Prior to real estate, Melanie spent 13 years in brand management in the food industry. She headed marketing for Garden Burger, where she built the strategic plan and new products pipeline. She also spent 8 years with ConAgra Foods, where she led the Hunt's brand revitalization, including new products, positioning, website, and a comprehensive loyalty program. Welcome, Mel. Let's dive right in.
Thanks.
So as you think of the state of the industry today, what's on your mind?
Well, it's been really crazy with new developments, but also as you know, we're coming out of COVID, and there's lots of excitement. But it's just looking to see what will be the next thing driving us.
Mm-hmm. What are some of the key things that you're excited about?
I'm excited about the momentum of, everyone's just excited to go out and experience. So the momentum of people, moving where they really want to live and, really enjoying taking advantage of the amenities and the whole experience of multifamily.
Mm-hmm. So you have an interesting background. It looks a lot like many I've met, myself included, where you started in one career and then somehow managed to get into multifamily, and it's like a Venus, it's like the fly trap of of industries. Once you're in, you're stuck there
Yeah.
forever. So, how did you make the transition into multifamily housing? How did that happen?
Sure. So I was with a series of food packaged goods companies that I made some moves, but they were also consolidating. So both ConAgra and Garden Burger, I was with at the time. They made acquisitions and kind of changed their headquarters, and smaller companies were being gobbled up.
Mm-hmm.
So I was actually ready for something new. And I thought that it would be interesting. People are so passionate about their homes. So
Mm-hmm.
I thought it would be interesting to check out. And you just don't hear much about, at least at the time I didn't, about marketing in our industry.
Mm-hmm.
So I had some really good discussions with the team at Archstone. And really the being part of also having a strong connection to operations was, really intriguing to me. That was one reason I came into our industry.
How did you find Archstone?
Actually, it was through a recruiter, and I just had some initial discussions to learn more about the role, and just really connected with that team.
Cool. So what's one thing that 2022's Melanie knows now that you wish you could go back and teach the Melanie at the start of her rental housing journey because she didn't know it back then?
The analytics, this really ties in well with you, Donald, and what you taught me. Analytics are so key to our industry, and there's so much happening with marketing analytics for multifamily as opposed to 10, 15 years ago, where the data was rudimentary. We can really make much more refined decisions now, and also make a case for, when appropriate, larger budgets if they drive profitability.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah,
so that's one thing. If I could go back, I would do all the more with analysis, because that's truly a great way to make a case.
So that's interesting. The comment you made also about being able to argue for more budget. I mean, marketing has typically had a unique place in our industry in that it's obviously important for getting leases, but it often hasn't really had a seat at the C-suite table. So, how have you gotten your voice to be heard? Not all marketers succeed at that.
Yeah, it's interesting. At Carmel Partners, I proactively pushed my function into areas where it wasn't previously involved. And
oh, we seem to have locked up. I don't know if you can hear me, Melanie. Maybe come out and come back in. Oh, you're back now.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, really going out of your way when you don't have a seat at the table to come up with a project, a way to add value, a way to, just start presenting on topics until the team sees why your role would be necessary.
Yeah, no, that's really interesting. I do think you have to have maybe not sharp elbows, but at least soft elbows. If you don't have any elbows, COOs and CEOs in this industry are not going to invite marketing in. I mean, I know when I ran marketing, along with you back at Artstone, we had to make our case. They didn't ask us to make it. Interesting.
Yep.
So maybe that's a good segue. Who has been your most influential professional mentor?
Oh, that's a good topic. Well, I mean, from the analytical standpoint, Donald, also you're very inspiring with marketing as well. You're one of my mentors who I most remember. I also recently really enjoyed working with Andy Sands, who is a leader in residential development and knows a lot about national, but also the California market. So he, as far as navigating to have your voice heard and have proposals accepted, really gave me some sound advice on that process. That's effective preparation.
That's really cool because I know Andy as well, and I don't know that a lot of people in the industry know Andy, but he's a remarkably even-keeled individual. Like yes. I can see your comment about him, teaching you more how to get proposals approved. He's a very, very informed person, very thoughtful about that sort of stuff. So interesting to hear his name. That's really cool. So when we think a little bit about Carmel right now, what's a challenge that Carmel's facing at the moment, and how are you working to overcome it?
So one challenge we're facing is we have a very robust pipeline of development. We operate our properties through Greystar, but we also have we develop with funds. That's Carmel's business model. We're a relatively small organization. We have a very robust pipeline delivering in the next 3 years. So getting well organized, which part of that efficiency is how we set up standard processes, standard reporting, standard benchmarking. So we're not doing everything on a one-off. And we're really gearing up for this big tidal wave right now.
And yeah, that is, and maybe for a moment, just for context, share with everybody kind of how many of those lease ups you've got or developments you've got coming and what markets they're in, just so people have context.
Sure. We have 30 on the radar to launch in the next 3 years. And our markets, Carmel Partners focuses on high barrier to entry urban markets. So they're, we're coastal California up through the Seattle area, as well as we now have a pretty significant development presence in DC, Manhattan. We have a couple of projects in Denver. Those are our focus. Yeah.
That's such a good segue from your Artstone days. Same markets, and then the Denver headquarters. Yeah. So let's turn and talk to our favorite subject, data. Obviously, REBA is all about the data. What does data-driven decision making mean to you?
So from a marketing standpoint, it not only ensures that we are driving the traffic we need for these projects, which is one of the top objectives for marketing, is to make sure we're driving enough traffic, but it also makes sure that we are doing it effectively And the more we benchmark, we're actually able to secure more dollars than less to do, to test new things and to ensure that we have the right programs in place, particularly for lease ups, but also for stabilized.
What's it? So you mentioned using the data to sort of prove something out and actually get more funds. Maybe you could share a specific example of that.
Yes. So we've actually incorporated. We use benchmarking. We have quarterly executive reviews, and we have a set of marketing benchmarks. And we've now included. It's interesting when we're showing that we're more effective with paid search than the benchmark, or more effective with whatever website visits. We get nods as if that's what we're expected to do. But what's been the most influential really is when we added in cost benchmarking. So we work with Greystar as our property management team. They're the largest property manager. They were able to provide us marketing cost benchmarking by segment, and really showing that against what we're spending has been revealing. What's resulted in that is less focus on just immediately what can we cut, because when driving effectiveness and efficiency when it comes to marketing, I think that's the knee jerk. What can we cut? Instead of really, are we right sized? We still want to continue to make sure that we're the most efficient and potentially cut, but unless there's a valid reason to spend more. But I think that took a little bit of the focus off of immediately just jumping to how can we cut this by 10%, instead of what's the right budget. And with Reba, what's really exciting is the opportunity to really drill in and see, not only by working with the Reba team, they have helped us segment that marketing budget and part of the Reba tool, so we can see the whole, but also we can really drill in by segment and see, and start to compare and look at where the budget opportunities could be.
Yeah, we sort of love, we're not using it as a tagline, but we love I guess it's sort of a tagline of analysis at the speed of curiosity, right? Instead of having to take an hour pulling down reports, like I see something, I want to click and get my answer right away. So that's actually a good segue into the next question I was planning on asking. How do you see the maturity of data and data-driven decision-making in rental housing today? Obviously a lot better than when you got into it, probably a lot more to go. So I'd love your sort of thoughts and comments on where are we in that maturity and where do we need to go?
Yeah, I mean, we're still not all the way tracking all the way through effectively to the lead and the lease. There's more directional data heading that way. Obviously, with more and more of marketing going digital and online and through SEM, the ability to really merge what's happening with SEM all the way through to what the end result was with lead and lease. The industry's not quite there, but we're making a lot more strides, and at the pace of improvement, it will probably not be too much longer that we'll have that transparency.
So talk a little more. What do you think that future of data analytics is going to look like?
Like the entire customer life cycle, from when they first are aware of their search process, aware of our property, and then how they come back to it, when they decide, how they go all the way through the funnel. There's a lot of gray areas still. We piece it together the better. So I think actually there will be so much more transparency in that whole funnel process, and then that will be very insightful for how we can better reach those prospects with messaging, when to connect with them, when to convert, how we can continue to improve converting them.
Yeah. So I mean, you're clearly and I mean, I know this from working with you before, clearly somebody who really champions that data. I mean, let's be honest, nothing pejorative here, but the industry has a lot of people who are more intuitive in their approach, a little more seat of the pants. A lot of the deal guys, they trust their gut, etc. So how do you go about championing a data-driven culture? What have you found works to sort of nudge and push the company along without pushing so hard that you stop getting listened to?
I think it's up to marketers to be proactive. So we can't expect people to tell us who really don't even know, to tell us what they want. They're not exactly sure what they want to see. So we have to proactively pull things together that are also the right amount of information for the stakeholder you're speaking with. So obviously, if it's an executive, a lot of detailed information that includes terminology that is hard to comprehend, too many detailed marketing terms. That's not the right level of information. But starting with high level, especially anything around benchmarking, I found really gets more of the senior team's interest. So proactively packaging up some of the reporting and then putting it out there, and it's can be a little that's scary. The reporting doesn't always say that, we have A+ results in everything we're reporting on. So that's the other piece of it, coming to the table and saying, here's the reporting. One reason we do reporting is to find the soft spots. Here's the soft spots, and here's some of the next steps. And in order to accomplish this, here's what would be helpful. Here's what we could use that we don't already have. And actually, that is what they expect. They want to know what is needed from them. They want to know where we stand. They want to know that there's proactive things in place. So that's how I see how marketers in our industry, even just starting just step by step, putting something together on a topic.
That is a fascinating perspective, because I mean, so many people are afraid to bring bad news to their boss, and yet you're absolutely right. Like a COO or a CEO, they don't actually need to hear where everything's going well, right? They want to know what they can do to help fix things. And so the courage to be transparent and say, hey, here's a soft spot. I love the way you tagged it, right? The reason we do reporting is to find these soft spots, and here's what we're going to do about it. And here's what I need you to do to help me do something about it, right? Like that 3-step process of, sort of, de-emotionalize the situation by reminding people it's a good thing we found the problem, and then not only give a solution, but really make them have some skin in the game by what you need them to step up to do. I mean, whether you're new to this industry or an old hat at it, what a great model to follow, to have an impact. Love that approach. So as you think about that future we're trying to get to, and the importance of data, what do you see as sort of the biggest threats to that future right now? What are the barriers that are getting in the way of us getting there?
Well, one obvious barrier is that any prospect is influenced in a lot of ways. So it's not just, one clear thing that's their source that's bringing them in. So, how we kind of weed through all that, or just recognizing that there's multiple, and really just embracing it, and being open to learning. I think each year, if we can chip away more at that funnel, we're working our prospects down and converting them, and just be ready, very open for change. That there will be a lot of evolution.
Yeah, no, I think I mean, it's sort of naturally human to want a simple answer, but when it comes to attribution, it's not really simple. It is a complex interrelated web that gets somebody to us. So embracing that, I think, is really, really important. You talked a lot about benchmarking. So, at Carmel and in your marketing world, sort of how do you measure success, or what are some of the key metrics that are sort of go-to metrics that really are powerful for you?
Yeah. So on the, advertising front, it's, kind of goes back to the traditional cost per lead, cost per lease for sources, ILS, for digital, paid and social. The analytics have really improved, so we can really drill down. One area that I would like to personally spend more focus on is, looking at the benchmarks themselves.
Mhm.
As I mentioned, our property management team provides some benchmarks for their portfolio. They actually also break out those benchmarks. So they'll provide Class A,
Mhm.
property type, market level.
Yep.
But the more, and I also think, maybe looking at some other industries for some of the benchmark data, but really becoming well versed in that would be helpful.
Mhm. Excellent. So, excuse me, when you talk to friends outside the industry, what do you either tell them or hear from them that sort of breaks with the common myths are out there? Essentially, what's a common myth about the industry that you would want the world to know just isn't true?
Oh, I think that marketers from other industries look down on multifamily. That's always
Mhm.
been my impression, that we're not as sophisticated
Mhm.
as packaged goods or entertainment, because we don't necessarily have $1 million advertising budgets for commercial campaigns.
Mhm.
The reality is, because I've had the opportunity to be in that world, in our world, what I love to explain is that we are much more entrepreneurial.
Mhm.
We have the ability to drive performance more effectively than a lot of those, really high profile marketing jobs, because the amount of approvals to get the advertising for one commercial, it's such a bureaucratic, there's
Mhm.
honestly 30 presentations that go in and so many stakeholders involved. Whereas in our industry, if you're excited, I love your tagline.
Mhm.
If you're curious, there is so many ways to impact the business and make a name for yourself in
Mhm.
multifamily. That I'm really I think it's much more strategic here as well.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I know, a lot of marketers are frustrated by the small size of their teams in this industry, but to your point, um, you know, small size means you can have a big impact because each person's contribution really matters, and there's nowhere to run or hide. Okay, let's take the last couple minutes of this session, and now that we've done the heavy lifting, we always like to end these interviews with a little fun, sort of rapid fire James Lipton style Q&A. So the only rule is don't think too hard. It's only 6 questions. Don't think too hard. Okay. First question: what book has influenced you the most?
Catcher in the Rye.
Catcher in the Rye. Oh, good choice. What's your favorite time of day?
Morning, early morning,
Early
5 a.m.
morning. There you go. That's a lot. That's a little too much like me. I'm not sure it's great that I love the morning, but I'm the same way. What is your favorite app?
Um, oh gosh. My banking app.
Your banking app. There you go.
Yeah,
That's okay. That's not as
boring.
embarrassing as my answer. I hate to say it. Probably more pre-COVID, although it's starting to pick up again. My favorite app's actually FlightAware. That tells you I travel too much. Um, what's your
I
pet
also like
peeve?
Pinterest
Oh,
a lot. Sorry.
Pinterest.
Yeah.
Okay, there you go. What's your pet peeve?
Littering.
If you had to pick one food to eat forever, what would you eat?
Sushi.
Oh, there you
24
go.
hours a day. I could live on it. Yeah.
And
That's all I need.
what is your go-to for having a good laugh?
Oh, um, just hanging out with my friends. That's, yeah. Getting
Always
away
keeps
from
you
the
laughing.
computer. Yeah.
There you go. Well, thanks so much for sharing your insights today with us, Melanie.
Sure.
Just one brief moment. Where online can everyone find out a little bit more about you and the great work that Carmel is doing?
Well, our corporate website is carmelpartners.com. Our properties are all boutiques. They all have their own websites. I will
Mhm.
be at AIM. I'm making an effort to go to conferences this year, so I
Mhm.
would love to connect with more of you in our industry. So please come up and say hi. And I'll also be part of Donald's lunch at the upcoming AIM conference. So
Yeah,
I'd
that's
love to
a
see you.
good. I think this will get out in time, but we'll definitely we're having a sponsored lunch on marketing data that you didn't know you could have. Melanie's going to share a little more about what she does with marketing data and how Reba fits into that ecosystem for her. So hopefully you can join Melanie and me at AIM coming up in Huntington Beach a little bit later this month in April. Well, thanks again, Melanie, for your time.
Of course.
And really appreciate it. Great insights. Look forward to continuing to work with you. Thanks.
Me too. Thank you. Bye.